Hi, and thanks for joining us for a special edition of This Week in Government Affairs. We're going to give a recap of some of the bills that have made their way through half of the legislative process now. We are in the Monday after the House of Origin deadline. What that means is that the bills that have made it this far have made it out of the House that they were originally proposed in and have now made it from the Assembly to the Senate or from the Senate over to the Assembly. So taking a quick look at some of the bills that have made their way through that we are keeping a close eye on. One of them is SCA 20 by Senator Stephen Glazer from out in the Bay Area. What this would look to do is that it would change the revenue from point of sale, which would be, for example, if somebody ordered something from the Amazon Fulfillment Center here in Fresno, we would get the tax revenue and it would change it to point of delivery. So if somebody out in San Francisco or somebody out in the LA basin orders a television, that community that they live in would get the tax revenue instead of our community here in Fresno. So as a place that is expanding in e-commerce and in distribution and fulfillment centers, this is a huge deal for our community and for our local economy. So we are keeping a close eye on that, and we're joining Mayor Lee Brand and the city of Fresno in heavily opposing this really bad piece of legislation. So we will be engaging with you on that if it makes its way forward in the process. Another job killer that made its way from the Assembly to the Senate is a bill by Assemblymember Lorena Gonzalez Fletcher that would look to ban arbitration and settlement agreements in employment disputes. This is a huge deal when it comes to legally affecting the way that employers run their workplaces, especially when it comes to separation agreements and other employment law issues within their workplace. So we are heavily opposing that piece of legislation because of the negative impact that it would have on employers of every size. SB 1121 by Senator Bill Dodd is looking to increase consumer litigation in the area of data breach. So if it is accused that a company, if there was a data breach in a company and consumer information was accidentally leaked, even if it wasn't the company's fault, a person would be able to bring a suit against that company that is being accused of a data breach, even if the person can't show any proof of being actually harmed by the data breach. So this could create an extremely complex and expensive legal situation for companies that are subject and fall into a situation where there is some consumer data breached. So this is a piece of legislation that we are heavily opposed to and that we are tracking as it's making its way through the process. A couple of bills by Senator Hannah Beth Jackson out of the LA area. SB 1284 would require employers of 100 people or more, or 100 employees or more, to disclose pay data to the state. It would remain confidential to the state, but what it would look to do is try to fund any employee wage gap differentials, and that could potentially expose employers to some wage difference litigation on behalf of the state, and we really want to prevent that, especially for our employers who employ a large number of employees of 100 or more. SB 1300 by Senator Jackson would look to lower the standard of proof in harassment claims. So now, if this bill passes, an individual can bring a suit to an employer without ever having shown that they were harmed in any way in the workplace. So it pretty much becomes open season for any sort of legal claim on an employer when it comes to harassment issues. But not everything is bad news, not everything is job killers. There are bills that we are supporting that are making a positive difference and are moving their way forward. One of those is SB 1743 by Assemblymember O'Donnell, and this looks to expand the funding in career technical education, which we love and we need here in the Valley, from $200 to $500 million a year over the course of the next 3 years, and it'd be $500 million after that. And what this would do is it would provide that funding and put it up for grant applications to school districts across the state. This would make a huge difference for our local school districts and for our local economy as we look to train more of our young people in our workforce for CTE-related jobs. Another bill that we are in support of is AB 2006 by Assemblymember Susan Eggman. And what this bill looks to do is it looks to provide funding for ag worker van pools for near zero emissions and zero emission vehicles. This is something that we need here in the Valley. I mean, ag is our #1 industry, And we have thousands of individuals who get up bright and early every day and take van pools to work. This will hopefully help reduce, number one, emissions, but number two, the cost of transportation for a lot of our Valley's hardworking people, especially in the ag industry. And then the last bill that we're looking at is AB 2569 by Assemblymember Joaquin Arambula from right here in Fresno. And what this bill looks to do is expand the beneficial use definition for groundwater banking so that more people can, more water agencies and ag individuals can divert water during high flow periods in order to be able to water bank that, and that their water banking abilities are now termed in a way that the state looks at it as a positive, and it will help them in fulfilling their Sustainable Groundwater Management Act requirements. So that's kind of the general overview of what we're looking at here as the legislative session moves towards the hectic and quick pace in this second half. So we thank you for joining us for this special edition of This Week in Government Affairs. Click on over to our website at fresnochamber.com. We'll have our priorities list and an updated bill tracking sheet that'll give you about once a week a general overview of where the bills are in the process. And when big bills that have a potential to impact us heavily economically come up, we will do another special edition. So thanks for joining us.